What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? Michael Montero, my favorite YouTuber. How you doing, Mike? It's been a while since we chatted. I figured I'd pay you a visit. This guy, he's been on. He's been blazing the trail when it came to Povetkin, right? Because he has no agenda or no biased agenda. His agenda has always been, obviously, as he will tell you, to report on this case unbiasedly and to call it down the middle, right? This guy, anytime anything negative came out about Povetkin, he was right on top of it, making a whole video about it, right? When Povetkin, when the jury ruled in favor of Povetkin in the Wilder trial, he made a whole video gloating, right? It was all over Twitter saying how he's vindicated and all this other shit, right? Because it wasn't personal at all, Michael. It was just about the truth, huh? Fair enough. But now that Povetkin has appealed and actually won, right? Actually won. Where's the video, Michael? I mean, I don't watch this guy's videos, and judging by the numbers he's been getting, don't nobody watch his shit. Your views have plummeted, Mike. I wonder why that is. I mean, you have a camera crew, you have somebody editing and producing your videos, and, you know, you get the interviews, you're like really into this, you spend so much time and money and effort on equipment and production and blah, 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 and you can't get no fucking views to save your goddamn life. Why is that, Mike? Why is that? You're welcome, brother. You're welcome. Hey, try to help you. You didn't want to listen. So anyway, this guy, whenever it suited his agenda, which was Russian bad, let's not kid ourselves, man, he was right on top of it, right? It took him no time to drop a video and gloat. But now that the truth has come to the forefront, and it ain't looking so good, is it? I mean, the truth was always available, but now that it's front and fucking center, your boy's been mum. What's going on? I mean, I'm not saying that maybe he didn't mention Povetkin somewhere in these videos, right? But you would expect this guy who's been on the forefront of this case, right? Reporting and telling you the truth and giving you the straight dope and calling it down the middle. You would have thought this guy would have made a whole video about Povetkin's great victory over Deontay Wilder. What a disappointment. Why am I not surprised? Anyway, the way Mike did it is, well, the way U.S. media did it in general. Because when the jury had initially ruled in Deontay Wilder's favor, you know, you were reading these articles and they were saying how Deontay Wilder got the money, and everybody on YouTube was saying the same thing, except myself, Thunderdome, and Maxwell Bear. We were telling you, well, that's actually not true, because Povetkin's attorneys have called this ruling a gross miscarriage of justice, verbatim. And the judge knew this. He did not release the funds. Okay, the funds remained in escrow because basically a lot of the facts have been kept away. I don't know how they did it. Okay, I don't know how they were able to withhold all this very, very important, pertinent information from the jury. But basically the jury ruled in ignorance without having all the pertinent information available to them. And the judge knew this. I knew this. Some of us, like 3 or 4 people on here, shout out to Frank Silva, we knew this. We tried to tell you, you didn't listen. Well, some of you did. But, you know, that's what the media reported, basically, and fooled a lot of you, just like Michael Montero. They started acting like this shit was over, right? No, nobody wanted to talk about appeals back then, right? When it was clear that an appeal was coming and was likely to succeed, because if you had followed the case, you would have known this. But nobody was talking about appeals then. But now that Povetkin actually won, and the funds have actually been released, now everybody wants to talk about Deontay Wilder's appeal. Oh, really? Deontay's gonna appeal. You want to know what his chances are of winning an appeal? Let's see. And I know every case is different. They're individual cases. But just to get a rough idea of what his chances of winning might be. Private civil cases. Here we go. From 2011 to 2015, somewhere between 10%, 10.5% to 14.2% of cases succeeded. Okay? And even if his appeal is successful, that doesn't mean that he gets the money. All that means is that they go to trial again. But you know why his appeal is not going to be successful? Because they already fucked up. Look, like, let's not act dumb, okay? Let's not pretend like the political situation and the heightened tensions between U.S. and Russia didn't potentially bias the court system in favor of the American, right? Let's not act like it, right? And because pertinent information was withheld from the jury, Povetkin's lawyers were furious, calling this a gross miscarriage of justice. You know, I'm going to go with that assumption. You know, but basically what I'm trying to say is that the courts are biased in favor of Deontay, okay? And seeing as they already screwed the Russian and they had to fix it, they already made a huge mistake, right? Because what an appeal is when you lose a case, you can appeal to have a higher court review it, right? And when they review it, they look for mistakes, they look for errors, they look for, gross miscarriages of justice. And if they find them, they reverse. They basically null and void the trial, and you go to trial again. So this already happened. So they already reviewed the case, right? And corrected the errors. So what are the chances that in correcting these errors and in the new trial, they actually fucked over the American over the Russian during the time of Russiagate? What are the chances of that? You think it's 10 to 15%? I'm going to say 0. But we'll see what happens, man. As things stand right now, Povetkin was deemed innocent. He won his lawsuit against Deontay Wilder. And those are just facts. Whatever the future may hold, and it ain't looking good for Mr. Deontay, that is in the future. Right now, Povetkin, innocent. If you are found not guilty, that means you're innocent. So, addressing the criticism that I still have to deal with, even though I've been 100% correct when it comes to this. From the very fucking beginning, from the first day that the news hit the street, I was on top of this shit, and I was 1,000,000% fucking correct. Somehow, I'm still being criticized. Somehow, this means that I'm not credible when it comes to debating people. I still have to deal with the bullshit. People are still using this against me, trying to say that I'm not credible, even though I've been 1,000,000% correct up until this point. The audacity, the intellectual dishonesty, the fucking... Oh, man. Some of you motherfuckers are disgusting. Seriously. So... the other day on the Hangout, all of a sudden, out of his ass, my opponent pulls out Wilder Povetkin, as if that had anything to do with the videos that I had made about Inoue and Golovkin's last fight. As if Wilder Povetkin had anything to do with those 2 videos that I had made that the debate was supposed to be about, right? It had nothing to do. It was some kind of a... I don't know what to call it. Some kind of a logical leap. This was supposed to... Well, it was an attempt at character assassination, right? Basically. Even if I were wrong somehow about Povetkin Wilder, that still doesn't mean that I'm wrong about Inoue and Vanes. That's a completely different issue, right? But this was brought to the forefront to try to assassinate my character, right? It was an ad hominem attack. But what was so fucking hilarious about this ad hominem attack, which is a fallacy in the first place, and it's not a credible argument. Look, people can be wrong about stuff. Just because you're wrong about something, that doesn't mean that you're wrong about everything. That doesn't make any sense logically, okay? And to boot, I was right. So I don't understand how this motherfucker, my opponent, he couldn't even get a fucking fallacy correct. That's the funny thing about the whole thing. He couldn't even muster up a proper fucking fallacy, which obviously isn't proper in any way, shape, or form, but he couldn't even conceptualize and present a fucking character assassination. Which even if you were able to pull off a character assassination, it still would not have been applicable in that debate, not only because it's a fallacy by being a character assassination or ad hominem, certain type of ad hominem. It also wouldn't have worked because it was a non sequitur. It had nothing to do with Inoue, McDonald, and Golovkin Vanes. Jesus fucking Christ, I'm surrounded by morons, man. And to boot, oh, my opponent was telling me that Mr. Ryabinski, not only did he try to assassinate my character using this case, he also pulled a fucking homonym, ad hominem, out of his ass against Mr. Ryabinski, right? Saying that because Mr. Ryabinski has a horse in this race, whatever he says is not credible. But that's not how it works. You have to look at what he says and judge that, looking at the facts. Judge it, and see if what he says is credible or not. Okay? It has nothing to do with who he is. You don't attack the man. You attack his statements, his arguments. Okay? So... this motherfucker says that the man's not credible because he has a horse in this race. But when I asked him if he had a horse in our race, our debate, first he tried to say no, which was a blatant fucking lie, blatant fucking dishonesty. And when it became obvious that that shit wasn't going to fly, and he said yes, he basically discredited himself with his own bogus-ass logic. This motherfucker was so horrible, he couldn't even get a fucking ad hominem fallacy correct. That's how garbage my opponent was. That's how garbage all of you frauds are out there. Povetkin is innocent, okay? Which doesn't mean that he's never taken PEDs, dummies. All that it means is that you can't prove that he did when he wasn't supposed to. Fucking A, man. Surrounded by morons. Straight up and down. No special effects. Shout out to all the real motherfuckers out there, man. Woo!